One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowded around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat.
It's not every day that the Son of God climbs into your boat and asks you for a ride. Now, at first blush, this seems like a very presumptuous thing for Jesus to do. He and Simon, as far as we can tell, have never met before. This is their first encounter in this gospel. And here comes Jesus with a large crowd in hot pursuit. And he wants some separation from the crowd so that they can see him while he speaks to them. So he hops in Simon's boat and says, "Can you pull out a little way from shore while I talk to these people?" Now, when this happens, Simon is in his boat, which means he probably had some sort of boat-related plans that Jesus is interrupting. Either he's just gotten in his boat, he's getting it ready, we read that he's cleaning his nets, he's either getting ready to push out and go fishing again, in which case Jesus is making him take a break from work when he needs the work, or he's just gotten back from fishing and he's tired and he's spent all day out on the sea and he would like to go home and sleep, and Jesus is taking away from his well-deserved rest. Either way, it was probably not on Simon's to-do list for the day to turn his boat into a makeshift stage for some traveling preacher.
When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets."
I'd really like to know what it is that Jesus said to that crowd. We get the beginning before he was speaking, and we get the after he was done speaking, but somewhere in the middle, clearly something happened. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, these 2 people have never met. As far as Simon knows, this is some random wandering rabbi who thinks it's okay to commandeer boats. Simon, on the other hand, is a career fisherman. It's what he does. He knows how fishing works, and he knows that there are no fish to be had on this spot on this day. But something in Jesus' teaching has inspired respect in Simon. Maybe it wasn't something he said. Maybe it was just the large crowd hanging on Jesus' every word, or maybe he did say something profound and life-changing for Simon. But whatever the cause, Simon does not respond to Jesus' request the way that most professionals would respond to an amateur's request. He doesn't give him a lecture on how fishing works. He doesn't employ a little bit of sarcasm. He doesn't turn to Jesus and say, "Okay, now look, I've been out all night. I tried the fishing thing. As you can see from my empty nets, I did not catch a single fish. I was fishing at the right time of day. This is the wrong time of day. You don't know what you're talking about. You were sitting in my boat talking to people for an hour. I'm tired. I'm going home. You go fishing." He responds instead with deference. He calls Jesus Master, and he lets a little skepticism go through, but he tells him, "Even though I know that this will amount to nothing, I will let my nets down out of respect for you."
When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boats to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats, so so full they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken, and so were James and John, the son of Zebedee, Simon's partners.
This is just too good to be true. When the day had begun, Simon had an unsuccessful night of fishing, after which he was roped into giving some random guy a ride out on the lake, instead of going home to eat and sleep. But now he's caught more fish than he's ever caught before, and he doesn't know how to respond. He knows this reversal of fortune has something to do with this new man in his boat, so in a fit of gratitude, he begs the man to go away. Now, that might seem like an odd response at first. You're so happy that you tell someone to leave. But how often do we do the same thing? When we receive a gift that seems a little too extravagant or a little too unexpected, we respond with, "Oh, you shouldn't have. This is too much. I can't accept this," as we reach for it and clutch it into our hands very excitedly. How often when faced with the opportunity to meet someone of great renown or some personal hero, do we respond with, "Oh, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't know what to say. I'd be so scared. I'm not worthy. Give me the ticket, please." Jesus has just become the greatest hero that a professional fisherman like Simon can possibly imagine. He is a man who can turn no fish into too many fish. He may truly want Jesus to go away, but more likely he is hoping to be reassured that he is really receiving the gift of unlimited fish.
Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him.
Simon is not receiving the gift of unlimited fish. Right after presenting Simon with the greatest money-making opportunity of his life, Jesus tells him it's time to give up fishing entirely. "Hey, I can give you a business with unlimited profit, but instead, I want you and your friends to wander around the country with me for a few years, be homeless, and frequently face threats against our lives." Sounds like a swell time. Of all the presumptions that Jesus makes in this story, this is easily the most significant of them. Expecting a boat ride is rude, but tolerable. Telling professionals how to do their job is a no-no, but usually we put up with it and forgive it and let it go and grumble about it later on. But telling people to give up their entire lives on a moment's notice, there's no getting around that. It's not a temporary inconvenience. This is a life-altering request that he is making. There's a well-known proverb attributed to Maya Angelou which says, "When people show you who they are, believe them." Jesus wasted no time in showing Simon, James, and John who he was. He was the kind of person who was going to expect all of their faith, their obedience, and their commitment. He was a person who could show them great things and help them accomplish more than they ever thought possible, but that meant he was going to expect them to do great things and accomplish more than they ever thought possible. And that never changed about Jesus. Not in his ministry on earth, and not in the 2 millennia since then. He remains today the person that he was on that lakeshore. The person who expects deep commitment, radical obedience, and extreme faith. The person who expects us to do more than we think we possibly can. To work to end poverty, hunger, war, and oppression, and to believe that through his power, it is truly possible to do so both here in our community and around the world. Simon, James, and John left behind the chance at a Jesus-powered fishing operation which would have made them filthy rich in order to embrace the uncertainty of following Jesus. They did it because Jesus asked them to, and they believed that he was who he claimed to be. Do you believe Jesus is who he says he is? What will you leave behind in exchange for a chance to change the world? Are you ready to step out into the unknown and follow where Jesus is leading you? Will you rise with me as we sing hymn 173?